By the book, any promotion that happens, everybody, whether it's a field force employee or whether it's somebody sitting in headquarters or whether it's somebody working in factory, everyone goes through a talent review board where a group of people will go ahead, interview you, assess you. A feedback is created, feedback form is generated, we make sure that it is documented well. So if you look at the process when I joined the organization, it seemed very, very foolproof. But when you went ahead and I started speaking to people who had actually come and been part of these talent review boards, they gave a very different feedback. And for them, it was like, well, I went there, I attended, apparently you rated me, you identified my strengths, my blind spots, what I have to, my development plans have been created, but hey, I didn't get to know any of this. The manager saying, please go ahead and communicate the first, to your team member, this is what has happened and this is what you have to work on. But we never went back and closed the loop to check whether the communication actually happened or not. And in most of the cases, we realized after some time that although we did the process, so from an HR point, it was a tick in the box, but it never reached the employee. So the intended effect never happened. And so simple thing that we started doing was now when we complete a talent review cycle, we make sure we go back to the supervisors and talk to them saying, have you had the discussion? We're training them to ensure that they do the discussion in the right format, they take ownership of the feedback that they're giving, because sometimes it's easier to give a negative feedback saying, hey, so and so said so about you. You really, the person has to take accountability of the feedback that they're sharing it.
I see. So the challenges that we are coming across, at least in the Indian context, in taking care of.
Yeah. First of all, your ideas are fantastic. I mean, it's great, very innovative, very creative way of dealing with some of these challenges. I certainly wouldn't want to say change those in any way. Sounds like they're working well, and getting a lot of mileage from that. So what I would share with you is something that would be complementary to that, rather than replacing that. Firstly, just to give you a little bit of view of how I view it. When we look at talent management, and from what you said, I'm sure you get a lot of agreement on this, but basically employment is a relationship that we have with people, and most of you sound like you're really good at really grasping that and trying to respond to the relationship. I hear a lot of stuff here about understanding people's needs and trying to respond to people's needs and trying to get into the heads of the people that, that are in your companies so that you can respond to them better, retain them better. Retaining is really a key issue. So essentially, what I've developed is a way of doing that in a different way as well. It's easy to say, okay, we'll take a general approach, and some of your general approaches are fantastic, really good. But it's also important that we look at them on an individual level. We see people, what they want, what's important to them individually. And this is also a fantastic recruitment strategy as well. Because we have certain people, we see people that we would like to hire, and how do we get them to come work for us? How do we bring them in? How do we, show them that we care about what they want and that, we're going to help their career, basically. Okay. So what we do is a complete inventory when we employ people. Now this can be done as part of a screening process or can be done at any time during the employment process. But we do an inventory where we look and see what is it that people want. And we have a whole list of things, of options that people could want. And they prioritize those things, essentially. And we look at those things in relationship to what we have to offer them. So if we're in a recruitment cycle, people complete a questionnaire. So instead of saying, oh, here's a test, here's a personality test, right, or something like that, which puts people off straight away, we flip it on its head and we say, okay, we want to know, we're interested in hiring you. What's important to you about your career? And we give you a technology which enables you to prioritize those things. In fact, the technology enables you to prioritize a lot of those things very quickly. There's a whole methodology to it and a mathematical structure around it, but basically we're in minutes. Okay. which is a lot. Data points means the comparison between one thing and another. Okay? So where we actually see what engagement with a person. So when we look at them in terms of the interview becomes not about how well do you fit our needs, right? And that's also important as well. But the interview becomes about how can we meet mutual alignment? How can we respond to your needs and at the same time you respond to what our organization needs? And it's a fantastic interaction that happens during the interview when you do that, because it changes the whole nature of that interaction, which is usually kind of a cat and mouse game, you know, where they don't really want to tell you the truth of this or that. But when it's shifted around and you have some kind of a map in front of you that has this, that basically says how I've answered these things, you have a very real discussion with people in that way. Once you decide who you want to hire, who's the appropriate person, how are you going to get people to come work for you? The key to doing that is to understand what that person wants. What is the most important thing for that person? So maybe the most important thing for that person is to earn as much money as possible, as quickly as possible. But don't assume that. Not everybody, that's not their agenda. Other people some people are looking to have a mentoring relationship with somebody knowledgeable in the field. Okay? Some people are looking to move ahead quickly and become a manager quickly. Some people, the most important thing to them is to have a stable career, okay? Is to have a stable job, okay? The differences between people is actually amazing. How different people are. If you even look across cultures, cultural differences in what we discover are very, very small. The differences between people within cultures is just enormous. It's incredible how one person wants something completely different than what the other person wants. So, basic sales, 101. Find out what people want. Find out what they want and see what you can do to fulfill what they want. So, when you're hiring, in the phase where you found people that you want to come work for you, you're selling at that point. It's the difference. You're not screening, you're selling. Okay? So in that phase, you have a fantastic means of looking at what the person wants and say, okay, I see that the relationship with your manager is the most critical thing for you. You want somebody who is going to be warm, empathetic, helpful. That sort of gentle kind of relationship is the most critical thing for you. And I can see that from your application. We like your skills, we like what you have to offer, and we have one of our supervisors is the perfect fit for you. Okay? How great is that as an offer to bring somebody in? Okay? Probably very few of you have ever had an employer map out what you really want and need in terms of employment before you start the engagement. Okay? Basic key thing, in my view, that needs to happen if we're talking about talent management or even talent development. Basic thing to really say, this is what we want. Now, most employers have at least a reasonable idea about what they want from their employees, right? But not too many of them go to very great lengths to find out what the employee wants, or what the recruiter, what the person you're recruiting wants. Okay? It's actually very straightforward. It takes about 20 minutes to do it, but gives you an incredible amount of leverage when you go to discuss the job with a person, but also sets the relationship in the right context. It immediately creates a relationship that's a positive relationship with a person. And we talk about people dropping out. There's some fantastic ideas about engaging them right away. Supplement to that is, how about we engage them right away about what they want out of employment, and this is what we can give you, and this is what we have to offer, and very specifically lay it out for the person. Also, a very nice thing in terms of engaging them, getting them going. If you're really creative, and you can combine those two solutions, in fact, actually, you can start giving them the things that they're interested in having straight away as you engage them. Talent management is a creative endeavor. You know, and I can see that. I mean, obviously, from what you guys have come up with, it's some really fantastic ideas. And the ideas you can sort of add together. It's not a matter of either or. You know, you can start to add these things together. So anyhow, one of the things that we have to offer is looking at this type of work preferences, what people really want in terms of employment. That's one of the key elements that we have to offer. We offer another type of assessment. So some of you will deal with large volumes of people when you're engaged in them. And how do you sort them all out? Well, what we have is an online pre-assessment that looks at the eligibility of the person. What are their qualifications? What's their education? What's their experience? But it doesn't just gather information, it actually quantifies the information. Okay? My background is a mathematics background. So when I see something, I want to know how much. Okay? How much is it? It's not a matter, it's good, it's nice, how good is it?